You can't vote to take private land, Karen Ray.
Then maybe you should call your lawyer. I don't care what that folder says, you are not authorized to use this dock.
The county recorder disagrees.
The easement is right here, clear as day. This access is public.
I've lived in Cedar Point Shores for just over 10 years now, a quiet, rustic community tucked between pine forests and open meadows on the edge of Clearwater County. You wouldn't know it from the map, but our little neighborhood circles a private lake, my lake. It's called Bradley's Lake, named after my grandfather, who built the dam back in 1963. He owned the land, dredged the basin himself, and registered the water rights before I was even born. When he passed, he left it all to me, a narrow strip of forest, the shoreline, and a small island in the center. The HOA didn't exist back then. But when a developer bought up surrounding farmland in the early 2000s and built 80 homes, they named the neighborhood Cedar Point Shores to sound fancy. And of course, they formed an HOA to protect property values. Funny thing though, their shoreline properties stop 10 feet short of the actual lake. That 10-foot buffer? Still mine. For years, nobody cared. The neighbors fished. Kids swam. I let people use the lake freely as long as they respected it. Then came Karen Matthews, the new HOA president. She moved in 3 houses down from the West Dock, a retired real estate agent with a platinum haircut, oversized sunglasses, and a clipboard permanently fused to her hand. From the start, she was trouble, always talking about community improvements, regulations, and appearance standards. At first, I ignored her. Until she decided the lake, my lake, belonged to the neighborhood. It started one Saturday morning when I was raking leaves near the dock. Karen marched up, sunglasses flashing, voice sharp as a whistle. "Tom," she said, "we're planning to hold a community cleanup of the lake next week. I just wanted to make sure you were aware." I frowned. "Cleanup? From what?" She smiled. "You know, weeds, algae, that sort of thing. The HOA board voted to allocate funds for new signage and maybe a floating dock or 2. "Wait," I said slowly, "signage? Floating docks? On my property?" Karen laughed like I'd told a joke. "Tom, the lake's part of Cedar Point Shores. It's common recreation land. We just want to make it nicer." "Karen," I said, leaning on my rake, "the lake's not HOA land. It's privately deeded. I can show you the papers if you'd like." She crossed her arms. "That's not what the neighborhood map says." I raised an eyebrow. "Neighborhood map? The one the developer drew for advertising? Because I have the county plats, and they disagree." Her lips tightened. "Well, maybe that's something we'll need to review at the next board meeting." And with that, she turned on her heel and strutted away, clipboard tucked under her arm, muttering something about property rights being such a gray area. That's when I knew, this was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, I got my first letter. Plain white envelope. HOA letterhead. Inside. "Dear Mr. Bradley. The Cedar Point Shores HOA Board has voted to designate Bradley's Lake as community property, effective immediately. The lake will be maintained by HOA funds and governed by community rules. Signed, Karen Matthews, HOA President." I actually laughed out loud. Amy, my wife, looked up from her laptop. "What's so funny?" I handed her the letter. She read it, blinked, and said, "They can't do that." "Oh, they'll try," I said. "But they just made their first legal mistake." The next morning, I walked to the HOA office, just a converted shed behind the clubhouse. Karen was inside, on the phone, talking like she was running the Pentagon. When she saw me, her smile froze. "Tom. What brings you in?" I held up the letter. "This. You want to explain why you're claiming ownership of my lake?" Her tone turned syrupy sweet. "Oh, it's not your lake anymore. The board discussed it. We voted to reclassify it as community land. It's for everyone's benefit. You can't vote to take private land, Karen. She tilted her head, smiling like I was a misbehaving child. The lake's been used by the neighborhood for years. That makes it community property by practice. I chuckled. That's not how property law works. Then maybe you should call your lawyer, she snapped. I grinned. Already did. She blinked. You did? Yep. And he's very interested to see how the HOA plans to maintain property it doesn't own. Karen crossed her arms. You're being difficult. No, I said calmly. You're being reckless. But go ahead, build your docks, put up your signs. Just remember, every nail you drive, every dollar you spend, it's all on my land. Her smug grin faltered for half a second. Then she said, we'll see about that. By the end of the week, construction crews showed up. They built a wooden dock, installed benches, and set up a shiny new sign. Cedar Point Community Lake, HOA members only. I didn't stop them. I didn't yell. I just stood at the end of my driveway, arms crossed, watching Karen parade around with her clipboard and coffee cup like a conquering queen. That's when Amy asked, "You're really just going to let them do this?" I smiled. Oh yeah. The deeper they dig, the better it'll be when they hit the bottom. A month later, Karen held up lake dedication ceremony. Ribbon cutting, balloons, kids everywhere. I showed up too, with a camera and my lawyer. When Karen spotted me, she looked annoyed. "Tom, this is a private HOA event." "On my private property," I said, holding up my phone. "Go ahead, though. I'm recording." She turned to the crowd, pretending not to hear me. "This lake now belongs to the community. No more restrictions, no more gatekeeping." Actually, my lawyer interrupted, stepping beside me, "The county assessor's office disagrees." You could have heard a pin drop. He handed her a folder. Inside were the property plats, the deed, and a certified ownership statement from the county. Karen's smile evaporated. This can't be right." "Oh, it's right," I said. "And every dollar the HOA has spent building this dock, these benches, this sign, it's all on private land. Which means the HOA owes me for unauthorized land use." Her voice cracked. "That's ridiculous." My lawyer smiled. "We'll see what the court says." 3 weeks later, we were in county court. Karen had that same smug attitude, until the judge started reading through the evidence. "Judge, Mr. Bradley, you own the property, including water rights and shoreline?" "Me, yes, Your Honor." "Judge, and the HOA admits to building recreational structures without obtaining permission?" Karen, fidgeting, "We believed it was community property." "Judge, belief isn't ownership, Mrs. Matthews." The courtroom chuckled. Long story short, the judge ruled in my favor. The HOA was ordered to pay damages for trespass, restoration costs, and legal fees. But the best part? The judge allowed me to lease the land to the HOA, at $250 per day, if they wanted to keep using it. Karen's jaw practically hit the floor. 2 weeks later, the HOA posted an announcement on their website. Due to unforeseen legal issues, the Cedar Point Community Lake will be temporarily closed. They tried to hide what happened, but word spread fast. Neighbors came up to me at the grocery store, whispering, "You really got her, huh?" I just smiled. Just stood my ground. Eventually, they agreed to pay the lease, for 3 months, before tearing down everything and fencing the area off. Karen resigned shortly after, citing personal reasons. Now, when I sit by the lake with Amy, sipping coffee while the water ripples in the breeze, I can't help but smile. Because every time someone asks, "Whatever happened to that HOA lake?" I just point to the sign I put up. Private property, $250 a day for trespassers. Always know what's yours, and don't let anyone bully you out of it. When people use authority to push you around, sometimes the smartest revenge is letting them dig their own hole, then sending them the bill for the shovel.